What's up, everyone? It is Armchair Commentary here today to talk to you about daily fantasy hockey. This is just a basic how to guide and a little bit of a test to make sure that I'm using this software properly. But I wanted to talk about DFS hockey for a minute and some of the strategies I use to build a cash lineup. Now, the difference between cash and GPP or tournament is that tournament play is a smaller percentage of payout, whereas cash is about 45 to 50% of the people get paid out. Some places like FanDuel have everybody gets paid contests for beginners. So if you are a beginner and you're interested in joining, there are some links that I can send you. Feel free to hit me up in the comments or messages. So, couple of strategies I use to building a DFS cash lineup. So daily fantasy sports are games that are played every single day. So the lineup changes every day. You don't draft for a full season, you draft every day. And depending on the size of the slate, aka how big the how many games are being played rather, um, you may have a lot of options, you may have a few options. And if you're not someone that is every day into hockey, that can be a little daunting. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of things that I do on a regular basis to make sure that I ensure that I have a quality cash lineup that wins for me more often than not. So step one, I find high volume shooters. Guys that take more shots get you more points. And it's as simple as that. You score points in DFS hockey through goals, assists, shots on goal, sometimes blocked shots, sometimes penalty minutes. And for goaltenders, it saves and wins. You lose points for goals against with goaltenders. So make sure you're not picking someone who's going to be in a shootout. No good. Basically, I want to go and I want to look at who has the most average shots per game on a lineup. And I want to take those guys and go, okay, these are the people that I'm looking to focus on building a lineup around. So you may find a stud, pretty obvious. A guy like Connor McDavid would be a great starting point if you were looking for a shooter because he shoots a lot. He also gets a lot of points. From there, I go to number two, my second step, which is finding optimal line mates. Now, it's important to note that when you're building a cash lineup, you want to maximize the amount of points that you're going to get from that lineup. You need to maximize your salary spend already, but usage is important. So when I look at usage, I look at guys that are typically on the power play. Now, what that means is I'm going to find guys that are playing everyday shifts, but are also used on the power play because there's a higher chance that they could get points on a power play than they could if they were 5-on-5. Typically, being a man down isn't a great strategy for the opposing team. So I'm going to go ahead and look at guys who are power play ready. Now, when I find people that are on the power play, I want to do what's called a stack. If you're familiar with DFS, maybe you've played some DFS football, stacking is when you are putting people from the same team on your daily fantasy lineup. Now, stacking in hockey is a little different because you're trying to stack guys who are either on a power play together or on the same line together. And the reason that you do this is pretty straightforward. You want to make sure that guys are going to get opportunities to get points. So something as simple as, hey, so and so on defense is on power play one unit, and he is also on another lineup that gets rotated in. Maybe I'm going to play a defenseman that's on the power play one with a winger and a center who are on the same line together and are also on the same power play unit. That gives me a lot of chances to get points from those three guys. You can get points through secondary assists or just deflections, passes. It's entirely possible that you're going to get points for all three of them on the same shift. And that's why you want to go and use stacks as often as possible. I use websites like Leftwinlock or the Dailyfaceoff to check out line combinations to find out where I can find optimal DFS lines. Lastly, I take a look at the over-under from Vegas. Now, you're probably wondering, what does the over-under have to do with daily fantasy? It's pretty simple. I'm looking for games that have the highest opportunity to be high scoring games. More goals, more points. That's how you win in daily fantasy hockey. So something as simple as, I don't know, going to your score app or your NHL.com and taking a look at what the over under is for points in that game for total goals. If it's over 6.5, you have a decent chance of being in the green going forward. Sorry, itchy nose there. All right. So we've gone over stacks, we've gone over daily face-off, and we've gone over shooters. The last thing that I'm going to mention is I never put a stack against the goalie that I'm playing. Now, it sounds simple enough. Sometimes in football, you can get away with going and putting a defense that's not going to get you a lot of points, maybe, but at least they're going to get you something, even if they get scored on. In hockey, the goalie gets points based on saves and wins, and they lose points based on goals allowed. So choosing a winning goaltender is more important than choosing a defense in daily fantasy football. Choosing a winning goaltender is as simple as taking a look at schedule metrics, like is the game the second in back to back? Are they playing 2 nights in a row? Is it a backup goalie or is it a starter? I would rather pay up for a stud starter versus allowing myself to play a backup who's not got zero experience, despite what may have happened more recently with the Ottawa Senators. You can find goaltenders at reasonable prices, and sometimes they're guys that are on a hot streak and you ride them. But typically speaking, I avoid underpaying for goaltender in a cash lineup because it is such a critical position. Wins give you so many points, and it can typically offset an average night from some of your scorers. And lastly, I try to add 2 stacks to my lineups. So I don't play a lot of individual players. There's not a lot of guys riding solo. What I'll usually do is I will find a 1 power play stack that I can run. So a defense, a center, and a wing that all play on the same power play. And then I'll find another stack that's similar. I'll either find a goalie and a defenseman that go together, or maybe I'll find a center and a goalie that go together. And though they may not get points, at least if they're on the winning side, I know they have a good opportunity. Paying up for studs is important, but paying up for shooters is more important. So this is a pretty basic how-to guide on DFS hockey strategy. It's not going to win you tournaments typically. In tournament play, you have to be a little more specialized, take a little bit of a deeper dive into the analytics, and I know people hate that. But again, what we're looking for is, are guys shooting the puck? Number one. Are guys playing on the same line together, which will give you an opportunity to win? Guys are playing on the same line together. That's a great opportunity to maximize scoring. It's the over under in Vegas set at a high enough number that you know that it's going to be at least predicted to be a shootout. And lastly, have you chosen a goaltender that is likely to get the win? If you go ahead with these 4 things, chances are you are going to put together a solid DFS cash lineup. Gonna let everybody get out of here. Thank you so much for checking me out. I am Armchair Commentary, aka Armchair Host. You can find me later on tonight where we'll be going live with the Unforgettables with my counterpart Stone Sports Podcast. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you're interested in trying daily fantasy hockey, I've left a link in the description of this video. You can hit it up there for FanDuel, for DraftKings, I will have as well. And if anybody is interested in more information on fantasy hockey, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll be posting more how-to daily fantasy videos on the channel coming up, so look forward to those. Make sure you sub and hit those notifications. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. I look forward to seeing you later tonight. Have a good one. Peace.